Hey everybody, it's Matt Shares, CEO of SBI. I am here with my buddy Josh Horstmann, who's a senior partner here at SBI. And Josh, you and I have been fielding a lot of calls and questions on our revenue growth help desk around the disruption that's happening in a COVID-19 go-to-market world. And there's a lot of people wondering, what do I do? So I know based on what we've promised our community, we're going to share a little bit of information and really this kind of adjustment mindset that's happening. So Josh, why don't I have you set it up in terms of the kind of core topic we're going to cover today, and then you and I can get into the show.
Sure. Yeah, so Matt, we've been getting a lot of questions from both organizations and private equity firms around this is the new COVID-19 and the crisis and pandemic that we're in, and how do we best think about not only the first couple of weeks, so call that kind of the transformational foundation, versus, okay, we get everyone settled, they were working from remote, they're trying to think about how they're going to be impacting their day-to-day lives. And then after that, when they get back into the business mindset, what do we do around everything from forecasting to how they think about selling through social distancing, deal triage for the deals that are in pipeline, go-to-market execution, et cetera. So what we've done is put together a framework, and we're thinking about, how should I best position within portfolio companies, within corporations, this new go-to-market, which has changed and shifted in the last 30 days.
Yeah. So Josh, that's super helpful. And I know on the screen, we've got the framework up, and this is also something that is downloadable for folks that come to the website and our viewers and listeners of the show. But maybe just going left to right, if you can maybe explain to the team before we get into each of the pillars, how you and the team came up with the order. I think that would be helpful just to sort of set a fact base for everybody.
Yeah, so what we try to do is, if you think about from left to right, there's some foundational things around people, process, technology, and coaching. So those are everything from somebody going to work from their home office for the first time. Do they even have a laptop? How do they think about the new coaching methodology where I was in an office before and now I'm sitting on a virtual call in a conference call with my new coach, or coach has changed, or the person I was working with before. And as we move through the process, what we try to do is say, what are the key steps that are going to help you reset the fact base, meaning what reset this new normal? And then how do you best connect with your community and walk through those different steps from all the way at the end is, okay, how should I be thinking about metrics, the leading, lagging, quota, compensation? So if you think about a regular go-to-market strategy, and if you're familiar with a revenue growth methodology, we have this type of a framework. What we've done now is we've updated it to what the new normal is with COVID-19. So we've tried to put some tools and templates, and if you're on our website, you'll see the blogs and some things you can download to help navigate this new change for sales, marketing, and CEO leaders.
So Josh, because I am an incredibly slow learner and moderately fast talker, I'm going to go nice and slow. So what I'm looking at here in phase one, down the vertical, I see that I want to think about resetting the revenue plan, reallocating the budget, and managing expectations. And I know as a former seller, right, if I can't go see customers, right, or as a former sales leader, I'm like, what do I do? So it looks like there's a series of steps, and I believe we've had a lot of questions that have come into the growth help desk this week. But if there were one or two elements in step one, Josh, that you would remind the audience to be mindful of, even based on the learnings we've had the last couple of weeks, what would those be?
So yeah, the key things I would think about in step one is, and these aren't in an order of priority, it's just how we've listed them out. So let me kind of preface that. The number one thing is setting up a task force. You've heard people use the word war room, like having a senior leadership team, which is cross-functional, everyone from sales, marketing, IT, finance. So I think that's the number one thing I would think about as far as making sure you have a team in place. And then second of, how do you communicate this new normal when having messages coming out from both within the organization up to a board as you're working with the board of directors? And then the third thing I would be thinking about is, what are the business impacts? So that's everything from you seeing number one of the new forecast scenarios. People are going to be delaying purchases, projects, opportunities are going to be delayed. And then if you're thinking about top of funnel, there's a lot of allocation dollars that were either in travel, things that we were thinking about spending and maybe marketing or events. So start thinking about how those dollars that were allocated for whatever that event or whatever that travel was, and thinking about now I've got to move those to how do I going to fill the funnel, and more importantly, how am I going to drive opportunities? So those are the key things I would focus on, Matt.
Okay, very helpful. So now I'm moving left to right and I see this connect your community. And I know that's maybe not language that everybody uses, but we've seen questions come in. We have clients that are actually in this space, and we've been taught a lot over the years with all the different media channels that we have around the power of community. So Josh, same question around vertical 2. Talk a little bit about community and why is this important?
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things that we saw after 9/11, and when there's these big events that happen throughout history, it's how do you pull people together, not just from a business standpoint, but from a human standpoint. So when you think about connect your community, it's not just the community that you're within your company, but more importantly, thinking about a community of roles or community of people you work with. So what you see in this list here are things such as, having the communications to customers. There's a lot of talk right now about there isn't selling going on. It's more around checking in with customers, with coworkers, having people have those conversations using FaceTime and video conference and technology to just have a community sense of feel. In addition to that, we've set up on our own website and our LinkedIn is a community called Inspire Others. So we're trying to share best practices. There's no credit right now for who's doing what and coming out with different messages and communication. It's more around let's get that community going, and then we can start thinking down the road about how we best emphasize the selling process going forward.
Got it. Okay. So Josh, I know as I move to number 3 and selling through social distancing, in a couple of the CEO groups I'm a part of, people have started to move to, okay, I've got a new normal. I've got employees to feed. Customers need things that we do. When is it appropriate for one to generate revenue again? Because commerce must continue. And I believe this is going to happen over these next couple of weeks. So talk a little bit about selling through social distancing and what we've observed from our ecosystem.
Yeah, a couple of stats I've read and listened to in the last week or so is typically an organization has anywhere from 10 to 30% of their team working virtually. Up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, that number has gone anywhere from 70 to 90, 95% of a workforce that is now being told you have to go work virtually. Irresponsible or whatever that role might be. So as you think about when do I start selling, first of all, you have to make sure you're putting the technology, putting the people in the right mindset as now you're going to be social selling. And these are really where the digital prospecting, digital selling, digital ways to interact with your clients and your prospects, and more importantly, your employees are happening. So I would say the first 2 to 3 weeks, so we're in kind of that week 1 going into week 2, I think as we start to see the shift, people getting set up, they're getting back into the normal, that's when you're going to start seeing this digital selling and the selling through distance.
Okay. All right. So now Josh and I are going to move out of phase 1. We're going to move into phase 2. So we're in column 4. And this is called deal triage. And the reason why is because when the team was aggregating the feedback that we got from our community and our subscribers on the Revenue Growth Help Desk, this was all about what do I do with my late stage deals? Clients still want to spend. They need it. How do I manage that? So Josh, educate us on column 4, please.
Sure. So deal triage is, sounds kind of what you'd be thinking was. There are opportunities that were late stage. You were in a process of maybe negotiation or you're in that evaluation stage. What this does is it takes those opportunities and you create a deal desk or a SWAT team where you take a look at what is it going to take to help our clients move those opportunities through the funnel, so to speak, and the last mile of the sales process. So this is sitting down with, a client and saying, I understand you're going to be spending X. Do we need to do a discount? Do we need to change payment terms? Do we need to lock in some multi-year deals? Are there incentives we need to put in place? So as you're thinking about those late stage deals and you have a forecast you've been trying to hit, as people get back to selling, there's opportunities that should be the ones that they go and look at first through this deal team and SWAT team.
Very helpful. Okay, so then I notice after those late stage deals, then I'm thinking about the revising my go-to-market strategy and execution plan. So Why does that come after the late stage deals and not before?
Yeah, so Matt, again, this is, let's keep the lights on, right? Let's get things going. And then once you get into some of the, remember, we got to get those opportunities closed. We have to make sure those customers are coming in the door. Now it's, the new normal might change. So we don't know if this is going to last 30 days, 60 days, 18 months, 2 years. So after you get through this first, call it step 1 through 4, then it's time to say, okay, what are the learnings? What did I learn as I went through this process to now go and influence my new go-to-market strategy? And this is where you start taking a step back and you start saying, okay, what is the new segmentation going to look like? Example, I might have been doing business with airlines or hotels, right? Those things are being impacted considerably right now. So you might want to go back and look at the segmentation. What are the risky renewals once we got through the first phase of renewals? Where are my renewals in Q3, Q4, and Q1 of next year that might impact my go-to-market execution plan? So that's why we have it after, because again, it's all about getting through these first couple of weeks and then taking a step back and look at the go-to-market execution.
Okay. So that takes me to this construct of channel mix and coverage. And I would imagine, as you and I know from all our years of selling as outside guys, you obviously had a lot of time doing both out and inside, is if you're an outside rep, you can't even go see anybody, right? So I'm thinking about coverage. I'm thinking about my channel partners. What's been the drumbeat around channel mix and coverage, Josh?
Yeah, so again, a lot of the field reps that might have been in office or worked it from home maybe 1 or 2 times a week, now they're being asked to work full time. So I think there's an opportunity when we see coverage, it's first of all understanding, do you have the right talent? Some individuals might not want to do a virtual role or a digital selling role. So I would say that's number one as you think about your coverage models. And then because you've taken a look at the segmentation, you can start to say, how do I reallocate my accounts? My tier 1, my tier 2, my tier 3. So which ones are going to now go to high level virtual sellers, my mid-tier virtual sellers, and anything that might be my bottom tier channel partners or an e-commerce model. So again, you have to leverage the information you've taken from your segmentation, how your buyers have maybe changed their buying process, to then reevaluate the channel mix, which is those types of sellers, the coverage within those accounts, and then finally looking at the talent you have and what the best roles for those people are going forward.
Got it. Okay, and then that takes us over to number 7, which I know is a real hot button to the point where we've stood up a series of tracks just around incentives and metrics. So Josh, when it comes to aligning metrics and incentives for this temporary world, what are we seeing and hearing right now?
Yeah, so I think every sales rep is probably saying, hey, am I getting a quota reduction, right? I mean, because now I can't really sell the way I was selling. People are delaying opportunities. So I think the last piece of this is let's figure out, once we've gone through these phases of then saying, okay, what are the metrics, both leading, lagging, and behavior metrics, because this is the new normal of all the steps you've taken prior. And then starting to look at, once we have the coverage, what are we going to be doing around territories, quotas, compensation? If there are going to be changes, do I need to take a look at a second half quota reduction? How am I going to reallocate those dollars? I may be changing my plan into going into next year. So again, this is all around aligning the metrics to the incentives in this new go-to-market strategy that you built in phase 5.
Got it. So Josh, it's early days, and we've had certain folks trying to move a little faster than others. As we wrap up and send our community off to go and win the week, if you had one piece of advice other than the obvious, which is lead with empathy, is there anything else that you would share based on where you sit in the central nervous system of all this stuff coming in?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing I would tell people is don't panic. There is empathy right now, but there's also panic. Some people are really struggling with, what do I go do? Remember, there's opportunities we've seen throughout history. I mentioned 9/11, or if there's hurricanes or whatever those natural disasters are that might come in to disrupt business. When you panic, you make bad decisions. I think the key thing I would say is pull together the leadership team, over communicate to your sales teams, make sure that they're having the right tools in place. And then as you think about go forward strategy, it's all around having a plan and stick to that plan. And then more importantly, adapt as you think about the buyers and how they're changing their behaviors. Everyone can get through this. It's just a matter of how fast you get through it And on the other side, I think there's going to be great rewards for the folks who followed it.
Great advice, Josh. Appreciate you sharing this and helping our community. Folks, one thing I would leave you with is, while there is fear and there's uncertainty and there's doubt, everything that Josh is talking about on this screen is a highly reversible decision. So what do I mean by that? You make the modifications you need to make right now to do what you need to do to take care of your company and to take care of your family. And all of those decisions that we spoke about today, those are reversible. So controlling your fear might be the best advice I can give you based on where I sit in the ecosystem. As always, we wish you both empathy and making sure your family is safe. And we do wish you good luck as you reimagine things in this current environment. Until next time.